Welcome back to the final episode of drafting a championship fantasy football team around X player. We've done McCaffrey, Hill, Lamb, Jefferson, Chase, Robinson, Brown, Hall, and the other Brown. Go back, watch those videos depending on your ADP. We are here for the 10th one around Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, some little housekeeping stuff. Again, rosters that we're using: quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end, 2 flex, kicker, defense, bench. And again, this is half PPR. So keep in mind, if you have different rosters, different scorings, your ADPs are going to be different, your ranks are going to be different. So keep that in mind. But here we are, the last one, running it with a bang. We're drafting a team around Jahmyr Gibbs. How can you win a fantasy football championship with Jahmyr Gibbs? So without further ado, let's show you. Let's get this draft underway. Let's draft Jahmyr Gibbs 1, and that's right, the guy I'm going to pair him with, number 2. Let's shore up the running backs now. Jonathan Taylor. I think that gives you 2 top-tier options at running back. You don't have to think about running back for multiple rounds if you don't want to. I think that's a very nice thing to do. Another thing I could see is putting him with Garrett Wilson. I like that as well. But for me, I love my running backs almost as much as I love my receivers. But I love my running backs. So we're going to do those 2 right there because I like how this falls for the rest of the draft. And here it comes back to us in round 3. Unfortunately, I was hoping Nico Collins would fall to us here, but it did not. But either way, we're going to make ends meet. Obviously, we have 2 picks back-to-back here, so that helps us a ton as well. And one of the things about having back-to-back picks here is that you don't have to worry about reaching, right? Because you have to reach because it's going to pass you by if you don't. So here, there are 2 good running backs. Yeah, obviously the game plan, in my opinion, I see Sam Laporta there. I don't want a Lions stack with him. I think it's way too early to take Sam Laporta. Here you got to leave with at least 1 wide receiver. At least 1. And as much as I love Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, I think there's a lot more value to be taken to have your 2 wide receivers here. Because if you don't, you're going to be taking your next wide receiver, well, 5th round, end of the 5th round, and early 6th round, and that's just not good enough for me. I understand there are going to be some decent receivers around there. You know, you got to Tank Dell and Amari Cooper, but do I want those guys, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, to be my wide receiver 1, my wide receiver 2? Not really. So for me, we're going to take 2 wide receivers here. I know some people who really love running backs are going to be thinking Josh Jacobs here. Do not trust Josh Jacobs this year. I'm telling you right now. It's not going to work. I'll tell you this right now. So at least not as ADP. So with that being said, I think the 2 best wide receivers on the board, I think that's Jalen Waddle and Cooper Kupp. I understand that there are some issues with the bye weeks, both having week 6. I don't think that's something you should worry about too much. So we're going to take Cooper Kupp here. And one thing that I'm actually going to change, I'm going to change it up. We've taken Jalen Waddle a lot. I think a guy I would put 1B right below Jalen Waddle is DK Metcalf here. He also has a different bye week. So if you're really worried about the bye weeks, I think he's a good option. He's had over 1,000 yards 3 of the last 4 years. PPR finishes 21, 16, 4, and 7. He's got Geno Smith back. And if you think Tyler Lockett takes a step back, or maybe JSN isn't who people think he is, I think he's a great option here. And so we're going to take DK Metcalf as our wide receiver 2 as well. And boom, just like that, 4 rounds, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, all sorted out. And now we wait to round 5, and we don't really have to bite our nails hoping somebody falls to us. We'll just do whatever the draft board gives us. And that's a nice thing to have at your disposal, especially when you're drafting on the end. There is the end of that round, and this fell perfectly to us, in my opinion. Absolutely perfect. If I was drafting 10th, I'd be losing my mind right now. I'd be doing a happy dance. I'd be dancing. I'd be singing. I'd be doing a lot of things because Devontae Smith fell, and I think he's a great wide receiver. Again, I think if you can go 2 stud running backs, right, and then get Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, and Devontae Smith, 3 straight right after, I think that's a fantastic start to the draft. So that's exactly who we're going to take. We're going to take Devontae Smith. And little aside, that's nice, none of them share a bye week. And then right here, I've talked about him. I love him. I love him as a running back 2. Here you can get him as a running back 3, Alvin Kamara. And again, no similar bye weeks. I think this is one of the best first 6-round drafts we've put together so far. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, and Alvin Kamara on the backfield, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, and Devontae Smith. I think that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Now you don't have to go running back or wide receiver or worry about that depth. You can go tight end or quarterback here if it suits you. And here, as we come to the 7th round, looks like we got Ramondre Stevenson, Kyler Murray, Evan Ingram, Rome Odunze, Zamir White, Jaden Reed, Raheem Mostert. We'll read off a couple more because we have to reach here. Xavier Worthy, Dak Prescott, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Rashee Rice, Jordan Love, Brock Bowers, Jordan Addison, all of those guys. So for me, I think right here you got 3 stud running backs, 3 stud wide receivers. I think here's a place where you take Dak Prescott. He finished as QB3 last year. I think he's a fantastic quarterback. I think, at least for fantasy purposes, that he's got CeeDee Lamb back. We know that. He's got Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook. So worst case scenario, he does have guys that can catch passes out of the backfield. Again, people are going to say they're washed. And about Dalvin Cook, I would agree. About Ezekiel Elliott, I wouldn't. But either way, he has bodies there. He has people there. He has a good tight end in Ferguson as well. So he's got some good weapons. He's got a good offensive line. So I think he's a great value right here. So we will take Dak Prescott, shore up quarterback. And then the question becomes best available, right? For me, I don't love the options up here. I really don't. But if you know me, you know I love myself some Chris Godwin. So we will take him as wide receiver 4. Again, absolute steal for a guy who has not finished lower than wide receiver, I think, 30 for the last few years. So absolute steal there. And as we wait for round 9, round 10, we would like to get a little running back here. We'll see if it falls to us. Not really. Not really what we were hoping. Evan Ingram did fall a lot, didn't quite fall to us. But Brock Bowers and Jake Ferguson is there. If you're somebody who's saying, hey, I love stacks, I want myself a tight end before it gets too late, hey, feel free with taking Jake Ferguson here. Obviously, finished PPR 9 last year. I think he could very much do that again this year. And if anything happens to CeeDee Lamb, he's going to get even more usage. Now, do I think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 usage out of the tight end role? No, but he definitely is a number 2 target. I think he's a great value to take here. And so we will, because we haven't taken him in 80 drafts. We're going to take that Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson stack. And then outside of that, we're probably going to be looking running back here. Running back options, Austin Eckler, Devin Singletary, and then Brian Robinson, Gus Edwards, Tajay Spears, Trey Benson. We're not going to go for the Dallas stack and take Ezekiel Elliott as much as I like him, especially since he's probably going to fall to us. For me, I'm going to take Austin Eckler. We already have 3 running backs, all pretty good. Austin Eckler, I think he gives you an incredible floor because of the pass catching. In the running game, we'll see what he gets you. I don't love him as a runner, but he's going to get plenty of checkdowns with Jaden Daniels. I'm sure the coach is not going to want to have Jaden Daniels take many hits. So checkdowns will be an option they put in the offense as well. And again, if they're losing, all the more to Austin Eckler, and it's Washington. So you know they will be losing. So it's come back to us on the flip for 11 and 12. And look at that. Ezekiel Elliott is there. Tajay Spears is there. So we're going to take Ezekiel Elliott. I think this is a fine place to take him. No worrying about him at all. And then you look at what else do we need? Maybe a wide receiver, maybe a tight end. I think Brian Thomas gives you good production here. I also think Cortland Sutton gives you a lot of good production, and that's what we're going to take. Tim Patrick is gone. That surprised me. I think Cortland Sutton has to take over. And again, Cortland Sutton, I know a lot of people may not love him. They were in on him a few years ago, not anymore. Again, he's a wide receiver 5. You can feel perfectly safe taking Cortland Sutton here. And as we go to the 13th, 14th round, there's not much. There is not much here at all. But we will take a flyer, somebody that we haven't taken on. We'll take one on Rashid Shaheed, finished PPR 44 last year. I think they have to get him involved more this year. Out of all the guys here, I don't trust them the most, but I can see if, maybe you're drafting a position where, Khalil Shakir, Mike Williams, Jerry Jeudy are taken, Xavier Leggett. I can see taking Rashid Shaheed. So we'll take him here. And then running back, we'll go with Jalen Wright in Miami. We've taken him a couple times. Obviously, if anything happens to A-Chain or Mostert, and we know Mostert's injury history, he immediately vaults up that board. I think that's a very possible thing to happen. And I think it will happen. I think Mostert's going to get hurt within the first 5 weeks this season. And now, as we go to the end, I think right here you have a good amount of wide receivers, good amount of running backs. I think the best option here, personally, you can see him start. I have him start for other leagues. I think Jalen Polk's going to be really good this year. I really do. We haven't drafted him before. He's a rookie. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in New England. And I know people are saying, what does that mean? It doesn't matter. Drake May sucks, this, that, whatever. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 for a team that's passing a lot. I think he's very talented, and I think he is going to get a lot of receptions and a lot of targets. And so I think 15th round, he might not win you a league, but he won't lose you a league. I guarantee you that. So for me, this is one of my favorite teams we've put together. I think Team 1 is up there, and I think we had a good draft in Team 7 as well with the Monroe St. Brown when Garrett Wilson fell to us. But I think this is a fantastic draft. We'll go over it again. Gibbs and Taylor back-to-back in rounds 1 and 2. Kupp and Metcalf in 3 and 4. Devontae Smith and Kamara in 5 and 6. Prescott and Godwin in 7 and 8. Ferguson and Eckler in 9 and 10. Zeke and Sutton in 11 and 12. Rashid Shaheed, Jalen Wright, and Jalen Polk to knock it out of the park in 13, 14, and 15. That gives you starting lineup I love. I mean, you look at your flexes. You have Alvin Kamara and Devontae Smith as flexes. Your bench, Chris Godwin's going to be one of the best bench pieces in this league because I guarantee you other people are going to be scrambling for pieces. Again, you're deep. Running backs and wide receivers. And if you draft with both in mind, and you can get a guy like Godwin on your bench, you can get a guy like Ezekiel Elliott on your bench, you're going to be feeling really good. You're going to be feeling really, really good knowing that those are the guys, those are your 4th, 5th candidates. I guarantee you there will be some guys that their running back 3s, their wide receiver 3s won't be at the level of Chris Godwin. So if you can put that together, you allow yourself to have a lot of wiggle room with injuries. A lot of wiggle room can make you trade partners depending on how things work. Like look at how Team 2 went here. They went 4 wide receivers and the tight end. The running backs are David Montgomery, Jonathan Brooks, and Chuba Hubbard. That's not going to work, right? They're going to ask you for a running back, and you can give them one at a steep price. So without further ado, that is how you build a championship fantasy team around Jahmyr Gibbs. That is the 10th and final video for us. If you want anything more, feel free to put it in the comments. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and as always, take care. Have a great night.